Okay, Clouser minnow. I'm going to use, you could use white thread for this pattern or tan thread. I've got some clear. It's sort of like an embroidered clear, invisible mending thread. A little heavier than that. Once again, I'm going to dress the hook down just to give a base for the whole shebang, because I'm going to tie this a little bit differently from what we sometimes see Clousers tied. No, this was off one of the web pages, Dennis. So it's not a complete fake. No. Partial fake. Where'd my eyes go? Here we are. Now this was the kind. I wish I'd had more of this weight when we were down there, because we ended up fishing a bunch of muds that were quite deep, and so we're talking here serious eyes. No, they're just brass. And when these things hit the water, they make a pretty good splash. So, and I always, when I figure eight over the eyes to cinch them down, I always then go underneath either side and over top of the shank and cinch them up, and then make a couple of wraps behind and do it again, a couple of wraps in front. And the reason for that is that tends to lock the eyes in so they don't rotate on the hook. And then just to be sure, I'll stick just a little bit of glue in there. This is Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails. It makes it gives not quite as shiny a head as epoxy does, but it's a little quicker to dry than epoxy. If you make a few coats, it doesn't matter. Okay, now Clousers, as we all know, fish this way. So the underside of the fly, which if you're fishing like a minnow pattern, is going to be the light color, and the top side of the fly on the bottom is going to be the white. So the light colored pattern material is going to go on the top. And I'm going to use this fake fur again, because it's nice and long. And I'm going to try and get I don't want to tie these things too thick, but like if we're tying Clousers for fishing for salmon on the coast, the general rule of thumb is to tie them really sparse and to use polar bear. Now, you folks from the States would not be able to get away with polar bear. However, there are legitimate sources of polar bear hair. Yeah. So if you can find some legitimate polar bear, it's an amazing material for tying Clouser minnows. It gives them a sparkle like you wouldn't believe. So this one I'm going to tie in behind the eye. And then I'm just going to come in front and tie them down in front. Just cinch it down temporarily. And I'm going to go to the back again, and I'm going to open spiral this all the way back. This is what's different from the typical Clouser. And I'm going to spiral this back forward.
Say what?
Well, typical Clouser, you just tie it in behind and let it flare up.
No. No, that's the typical way.
Yeah? Okay, well, the way I tie them, I'm just
saying that's the way
Bob tied them?
ties them, yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe that's why, because he fished salt water a bit with them, I would guess, yeah. Because they sink a little faster, I think, if you cinch it down at the back. Cinch that down. Then I'm going to turn them over. And once again, legs. I'm going to take some of these flashy legs, silly legs. And the way I do these things, I don't want them too long. So I'm just going to, this one's a little longer fly, so I'm going to wrap them around the hook, bring them up on top, cinch it down, and then try to get one set of legs on one side, or one leg on one side, one leg on the other, and I'm going to kind of trip them off up there. And then my brown hair, is going to go on the top. And it's the same sort of proposition. Get some of the fuzz out. Set them down on top, and this time I'm going to tie down in front of the eye, and the first wrap is not going to be too tight. And the second wrap is a little tighter in front, a little tighter, and a little tighter. And then I'm going to pull them up like that and cut them off at a fairly sharp angle. Yeah, that's not far enough. Just getting that stuff out of the way so it doesn't get the hook eye. This stuff is really fuzzy, so it's hard to get it to lay down. Yep. Trim the extra bits that stick out here. The idea is with these is to get a pretty good sized head on them. You want them to sink, and so having a nice shiny head, I think, tends to help that fly get down. Again, the trick with these, I think, that in the deeper was to make sure they were on the bottom, and then to do like 6/8 inch strips so that the fly would come up off the bottom a little bit and then go back down again, so it gets that up and down motion that attracts the fish's attention. There we go. That's the Clouser minnow. These dumbbell eyes, I actually got my fingers almost stuck together putting those little plastic eyes in the middle. So that's her. That's your neighborhood bonefish flies. Very easy.